this will be what youth groups will be like from now. This will all be online. And I'm glad to see you guys are watching. You see, we'll have 3 different parts that help model what our youth groups was like when we were together. We'll still have our game, we'll still have our musics, and we'll still have our lesson. But it'll be all here. So, I hope that you guys can still connect in the same way. First, we're going to start off by playing our game. And our game is going to be with Michael Stauffer, and it's called Will It Float? And the object of the game is that I will be putting objects into water, and Michael will have to guess whether it will float or not. And if Michael gets a majority of these correct, Michael's going to win a 24-pack of water to help him get through this quarantine process. But next we'll be going into our worship time. Our worship time will be consisted of Drew and Daniel singing 2 songs. These 2 songs will be Good Grace and Glorious Day. And this will help prepare our hearts for the message. You see, our message is all about how we can remember and how God reminds us that He is God and that we can be still. And I can't wait to get things started. Michael, are you ready? Okay, your first item should be an easy one, I hope. Do you think that this Frisbee will sink or float?
It'll float.
You think it'll float?
Yeah.
Oh. All right, you got that one right, Michael. We're just going to throw that one over there. All right, your second item is a can of Sprite. Do you think this will sink or float?
Float.
You think it'll float?
Wait, no, sink.
You think it'll sink?
Yeah.
Oh, it floats. All right, so you 1 for 2. All right, next we have a thing of BBs. Do you think this one will sink or float?
Sink.
Do you think this will sink?
Most likely.
Most likely. Oh, it floats. All right, you're falling a little bit behind. I'll give you an easy one. Do you think this MPCC student's mug will sink or float?
Sink.
You think it'll sink? That's right, it does sink. So, you got 50%. And you have 3 more items. Which one do you want to go to first?
Tennis ball.
Tennis ball. Which one? Sink or float?
Float.
All right, it floats. So you are up 1. Next, we have this 9-square pushy thingy. Do you think it'll sink or float? I haven't tested this one.
Float.
Think it'll float?
No.
It sinks. All right, so you have to get this one right. Okay? Do you think this one will sink or float?
Float.
You think it'll float?
Yep.
It floats. So, Michael, you win a 24-pack of water.
Children
Hey students, and I hope you've had a good time so far. You see, we would have never thought that this could be possible. We would have never thought we would have met like this. But I hope that you guys have been blessed so far, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed this so far. You see, these videos aren't just for us to make silly laugh and for us just to have a good time, but these videos are for us to stay connected and still be connected to our God, who is the God of all. You see, I would have never thought that we would be meeting like this, but I'm not upset that we are. You see, sometimes tough times can come, and sometimes adversity can happen, but it's all about how you can deal with these things. You know, in sports, you always say, well, this team had to go through such diversity. Like, for example, my Blues last year. They had such diversity of being last and going up to the front using a rookie goalie. But there are times like these where we have to go through these diversity in order to find the better. You see, this can be scary, the unknown, and we can just get so wrapped up in the world around us and wrapped up in everything around us that we just forget sometimes. Like this online schooling, this is going to be difficult. This time where you just can't or you're not supposed to leave the house, this can be hard because some of you rely on being with other people and rely on your friends to be there for you. But I want you to remember one thing, and that is in the Bible when we talk about this. In Psalm 46, verse 10, he says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." Verse 11, "The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress." Selah. You see, in here we are reminded again who God is. You see, God is with us. God will always be with us. He has never left us. You know, thinking about this, you think back to like maybe 9/11, and you maybe ask yourself, where was God? But then we remember what happened after 9/11. We remember that the city of New York joined together, the world joined together in this morning and in this time where it was difficult. And you see, right now can be similar. They say right now that Illinois is going crazy, and it is. Most things have been shut down, from our restaurants to where you can only be a drive-in or carry out, to some stores, to anything that is not considered a necessity. You see, and with all this shutting down, it can cause a lot of cluster and a lot of emotions that will rise up. But God says to be still. God says to wait. You see, if you were here this morning, you heard Tracy, or my father, speak and preach in church. And he preached about the light. And during his sermon, he used this analogy that when we went to Passion this year, that we used these lights, and we had these light wristbands, but they only lit up when we were in the building and at a certain time. And he used this to talk about how we need to stay connected to God, and how our light only often shows up when we are with God. But we can see that if we stay connected, it is much easier to rely and stay calm with God. You see, we often get caught up in emotions, whether it be our cell phone that I'm filming on, our TV, our laptop, our computer, our Xbox, our PlayStation, social media, anything around us. Oftentimes, I've caught myself just scrolling on social media because there's nothing else to do. But there is something else to do. We can stay connected and we can remember who God is during all of this time. You see, it's easy to get disconnected, and it's easy to focus on this social media and everything around us. But sometimes what can be difficult is what's best for us. You see, walking with God isn't easy, but it's something that is very impactful in our lives. And we need to be still. I'm just going to keep going back to that. We need to be still and remember who God is and that He loves us. So sometimes we just need to shut off. We need to shut off our phone, shut off our TV, shut off our games, and just sit in God's presence. Listen to music is one way that I can do that really well. You just sit and listen in God's presence and pray and stay connected to God. Now, students, I hope that this has been a good time for you, and I hope that we can keep growing from this. But before we end, I want to close in prayer. But I also want to ask you if you guys and when you guys can start to feel disconnected, what would you guys do then? What are you guys going to do? And I challenge you to just put everything away and stay in with God and be connected. You see, your small group leaders might have reached out to you about when you're going to meet. And if not, I hope you guys reach out to them. Because we are still encouraging that you guys meet online so that you and your small group leaders and your whole family of small group can just stay connected. Now, real quick, before I end, I want to close in prayer. So would you guys please pray with me? Dear Lord, I thank you. And I thank you for everything you've done for us. Lord, in this time of uncertainty and in this time of just craziness, Lord, I hope and I pray that you help us just to stay calm and be still, because you are here and you will always be here, Lord. You love us and you care for us. Lord, I pray as these students and as we go throughout our lives in this time, I pray that you just help us to just remain in you. And I pray, and I pray, and I pray that some of these students, if not all of these students that haven't heard about you, can one day hear about you and follow you. Lord, we thank you and we love you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Have a good week.